Okay.
Megan, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you talking with me, taking some time out of your busy day, I'm sure. And um, I will give you my story after you give me yours. So, kind of introduce yourself and bring us into how you got into Amway, correct?
Yes, I
Yes.
was in Amway.
hmm And then, well, what made you start questioning things, and what made you get out, and how has the journey been since you've been out?
So there's a lot to tell, but so I got in Amway in 2009. I was just before my 21st birthday, and I had a friend from middle school who I've been friends with since we were 12, and he just one day asked me if I was looking for an opportunity, and I've always trusted him, and I knew his intentions were right. So we were talking, and he introduced me to the opportunity. um Come to later on, he's actually not really participating anymore either. But yeah, he wasn't one of those that actually was trying to be nefarious. He was honestly offering an opportunity, and we became closer friends because of that. He's like my brother still to this day. um but I got out in 2023, and there were a few different things that made me get out. So I started to see how it was affecting my finances. And I was like, okay, after 14 years of doing this, my finances weren't really that much further. And I had to take an honest look at, just everything. Like, I was still riddled with debt. I was, just doing all of the things that they said that you're not supposed to still have on your back by the time that you are, on your way to freedom, even though they try to tell you that that's part of your becoming free. And so I just had to be honest with myself. Like, this isn't going the way that it should. And, if I'm taking an honest look at everything, sorry, my cats decided to fight. If I'm taking an honest look at everything, this isn't right. I would tell anybody else if I were advising someone on their business, like, you're losing money, you're bleeding money. So it's, I had to do that to myself. So I, I drew back on my goal. Like, so I had been doing 300 points every month, and, I had some customer sales, but at the same time, not enough to, there was never really enough customer sales for anybody to be doing that 70% that they wanted. Which I have a couple interesting points about that. But, um, I basically, when I got to the point where I was lowering my goal, my sponsor's upline was just one of the most toxic people, and she would only talk to me when there was like a problem, or if she wanted me to do more, things like that. I'm sure we've all had uplines like that. But yeah, she was kind of asking me like, well, what's going on, and I just didn't know what to say to her. And so I was like literally on my way out, and then I started to learn about some of the tactics that MLMs use. So just a lot of different things kind of spiraled and snowballed, so to speak, and I started to picture my life without the business. And I even asked myself, if I walked away from the business, would I miss any of this? And my answer to myself was no. And so for, all of that time, I was trained to lie to myself, because, when you're in that toxic positivity mindset, it's just like, oh, everything will work out. It'll be fine. And it wasn't. And so I had to just actually, at 30, how old was I? Sorry, at 30 something, I had to just kind of reclaim my life. And so um I got out in June of 2023, which was 2 years ago, a little over two
Wow.
years ago. And I was actually just about to be 35. So I had to think back. But I got out, and that night, like, that I knew was going to be my last info session, I had dinner with my upline afterward, and I told him, like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what's on my mind. And I thought he would be crushed. I thought he'd be upset, but he was like, honestly, I wish you were sticking around so that you and I could be in the same boat together. And I was like, oh, okay. That was so validating, but at the same time, like didn't want him to be stuck in it. But I feel like we just got closer since then because there's like a kind of that unspoken bond. Like I'm not, trying to tell his story, but he's not trying to be the bold, like, person that he was with it. So he was very much like a huge advocate for it. And now he's just kind of like, whoa, this isn't right. But on the other side of that, I think it was, trying to think, sorry, the date. I'm not sure, not exactly sure, but a few months after I got out, I decided like I wanted to start talking about it. And so I did. I got some flack for it. A lot of people that were in my cross line were kind of, making some judgmental remarks on my posts and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, it is what it is. And I, honestly, I knew that would kind of happen because you have that when you disassociate, you start to have those people who were pretending to be in your corner, then act like, well, I don't know you. So a lot of people unfriended me, even like some of my close friends in my upline, they just unfriended, blocked, all of that. And so I was like, well, I'm not done here. I need to help people. And I know that when I get really, um, sorry, I'm not sure what they're doing. I'm so sorry, Jonah. Um,
You're
but
fine.
when I get really amped up about the justice side of things, um, I just can't let go of that. So I started to see all of the, like, even more I learned about the injustices that are going on, especially with the, like, how the tools work and how that's where the real money is. And I was like, I cannot stay silent anymore. I just can't. So I started doing a couple podcasts here and there, like, doing interviews. And then I kept avoiding the idea of doing my own, but then I was like, it just kept burning. So in January of this year, I started my own podcast. And literally just just today actually, I had, after a 9-month break because of just some life things, a couple episodes came out just like today on the 14th. So um it's very validating to, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question exactly, but it's very validating to know that there are other people who need that information. Because I used to be a serial people pleaser and the business taught me that, but then they would also tell you, don't be a people pleaser. So it's like, well, I'm torn between pleasing you and pleasing nobody. Like, what do I do? And especially for women, you don't want anybody to be mad at you or anything. So it's like, well, what do I
Mhm.
do? And I honestly had to just pick a lane and run with it. And in turn, it's really helped me heal so much. And I've gotten to know a lot of people like yourself who are just out there fighting the good fight and trying to help people avoid the landmine that is MLM. Um, so everything's going well. It's going really well now. And I I get like amped up every time I can post something or do something like that. And with that Larry and Pam Winters apology video, like I'm the one that put that out to the
Mhm.
public. Somebody sent it to me. And so I didn't break any laws by obtaining it. It was just like, here's this. So I put it up on YouTube. And the thing that was meant to stay quiet, which LTD is really great at, just became public, and I'm not sorry about that. um, but yeah, so when I mentioned LTD, as you probably know, Jonah, I was in LTD. So that's it's one of Amway's LOAs.
Yep.
So like their education system. So it's leadership team development, and that's part of what I was doing for those 14 years. Yeah, exactly. Education.
Education,
Uh-huh.
indoctrination.
Exactly.
Yeah. You tell your story how you want to tell it. Okay. I'm not going to tell you how to tell it. The only person that can tell you how to tell it is you. And that's what I want you to do is just to, tell your story, accurately, truthful, and the best that you can. And there's just a lot to cover because, I have how long were you in for Amway for?
14 years.
14 years. Oh, 14 years,
Yeah.
man. I had Hugo, a good friend of mine, on the channel a while back. We did a live stream over his story, and he was in for 10 years. And then Lisa, who I was talking with you about, she's been on multiple podcasts. She started telling her story here on the channel. And so,
Nice.
there's so much comfort to know that there are other people that are wanting to step up and tell their story and to expose this shit for what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I was there for Lisa, because if it wasn't for me, it probably would have taken her a lot longer to tell her story. Right. And,
Yeah.
Depending on how things work out, that's less and less people that you could really help. And that's
Right.
just one thing that I think about, is that after becoming a victim, you can help other victims. Right. That is the
Exactly.
mission, and I wasn't in for very long. I was in for a couple of months. But I wanted to get, some more info from you, being in 14 years, because I was in LTD as well, right? And I went to go
Yeah.
and see the conference this summer, not in person, but online, and just some advice. If you're doing anything for YouTube or any social wise, when you upload a video, try to do more of a reaction and segment the videos out, because then that's probably why they copyrighted it.
Yeah.
So I would just do exactly like what I did by reacting to the video, because then that they can't copyright that. They
Right.
can't.
Right. It's fair use.
It is. It is. I mean, the video itself is fair use anyways, because fuck these pieces of shit. But these parasites, I'm not as nice. I'm really not as nice. These parasites have no business hiding anything. So the very moment that we can expose them, and there's so much to talk about here. We're probably going to be here for a while. there's so much to talk about here. It goes so much deeper than just MLMs. It goes so much deeper, because then we can talk about the FTC. We can talk about this administration that's involved with MLMs. We can talk about so much, which we are, but that's going to be a little bit later on. So you mentioned the trauma of, psychological manipulation, the gaslighting, the love bombing. What affected you the most?
Definitely the gaslighting. That's like that, honestly, like even 2.5 years later, I still feel the effects of it. And I'm thankful that I'm mentally strong. And I don't let people tell me what to do or decide things for me. But at the same time, some of that programming just kind of stuck around, because there are times when, if I'm like shopping and say I know I can spend this amount on myself just as a treat, I still have to fight that guilt of spending even something like $20 on myself. And it's just like I like have to like throw that back into the pit of hell. I know where that came from, and I know that's not right. I know that's from being part of the business, because it's not just the things that your upline says, it's what they insinuate from stage. Because all of those conferences, there's much more that they're not saying, but it's like definitely they're putting out subliminal messages. So like, you'll have some of the diamonds talking about their fancy lifestyles, which apparently that's what part of what Larry and Pam got in trouble for. But then they'll also, on the other hand, say it's not about materialism. I just had to focus, like, and, not put my finances toward other things. And I just had to, throw everything that I could into the business for so long. And then now I get to buy whatever I want, kind of thing. Like, when they say stuff like that, but then on the other side, you have your upline also saying, like, if we go out to eat for like a night out, um, my particular upline would say, like, if you're buying food, you better not tell me that you can't do your PV. Like, well, can I eat? So
No,
there's
you
just like
can't.
all that
No, you
no,
can't.
you're not allowed to eat anything other
No.
than what's in the business.
Hmm. Yeah, you're not even allowed
Those
to pay
books aren't
rent.
very tasty.
You
No,
can't. You can't pay
no,
rent. You can't pay rent. Only Amway.
no. And you know what's funny about that is, when I was in the business, like early on, I was in an apartment that cost $550 a month. And it was a 2-bedroom. That's how long ago this was. But then my upline thought it would be a good idea for me to move to a different apartment, something smaller, to save $100 a month, because that meant I could do 30 more points. She literally had that conversation with me. And I stupidly did that. And, at the time, I'm a caretaker for my mom. And I mean, I feel bad that I put her through that. Like, I moved us to a 1-bedroom apartment so that we could do more PV. And, she wasn't working. She didn't have an income at the time. And it was just like, it's so dumb. And, I don't even remember any good that came out of that. I even struggled to pay rent at that time because I was just so gung ho about doing PV on a part-time work, salary, like, and being in school, which I was also vilified for being in school. It's just, so some of the gaslighting, like, still, I remember some of the effects, and I'm like, oh, it still kind of makes me shiver a little. But for the most part, now when I think about those stories, I'm like, that's a story I want to use to help other people. I don't want anybody to have to go through that. And my mom even, she did it on her own free will, but I know that it was, partially due to programming that I would then pass along to her. But she even sold her wedding ring. And it just still, it hurts. I haven't actually told anybody that like hurts thinking about. Um, because, my dad passed when I was almost 4, and today's actually would be his birthday. So I'm sorry if I start to cry. I'm not normally the crier on
You're
videos and
fine.
stuff, but
You're
um,
absolutely fine.
she thought it okay, and I feel bad that I was okay with her doing that. I don't know why I thought that would yield good results, because that's just not something that you should do, or that your upline should ever encourage you to do. Um,
What I will say,
Because when they ask you stuff like, what kinds of things do you have that you can sell to put into your business, or what things, don't you need that you can sell? And, they lead you up to these toxic thoughts. And then when you come to these realizations, like, oh yeah, we have this and this and this, and you actually do it. And it's just something like that, something that sentimental. Is just, it really hurts my heart. And I know other people have gone through worse. And so I'm just like, I, yeah, I, I can't let, if I can do my part and help other people avoid that kind of thing, I'm going to do it. And I don't care what backlash I get. I don't care what these other people say about me or anything. And that's kind of the thought process that I have to go through. Like, if I ever come up to that point where I'm like, okay, I have to fight these thoughts and these effects of having been gaslit for 14 years. I just remember what's on the other side of that. Cause they would always tell you in the business, you don't know who needs your story. You're going to help people that, will relate to you more than to another person. And so I'm using that sentiment, and, like, yes, that's absolutely true. I know that there are people out there who need my story, but it's not so that I can get them into Amway. It's so I can help them avoid losing 6 figures, losing 14 years of their life, losing all of that. So
you were brainwashed. So,
Absolutely.
and it's not something that was so simple as, um, a scam call. This was a belief system, and oftentimes they used religion. You know,
Mhm.
people always fall victim to religion, always,
Yeah.
always, because it's emotional, it's spiritual, right? And
Right.
oftentimes it's psychological. And so I completely understand it. Don't beat yourself up. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up about it. Things happened. You have to accept that.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, but the best thing that you can do now is tell your story. And thank you for sharing that with me. Um, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, but you had no idea what was going on at the time, right? It's not to excuse, your actions, but you know, it's to understand what happened, right?
Yeah.
Dude, these are some evil people. Hugo was telling me,
Mm.
when he was telling me his story, that a woman had just had a miscarriage, and she had showed up to an event like the day before, just had a miscarriage, showed up to an event, and then the people who were hosting the event paraded her around like it was some noble fucking gesture that she didn't take any time to mourn her baby,
Mm.
right? So there are absolutely some evil
They
people,
really are.
right? So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. All right.
Yeah.
Accept things as they are, right? And then the
Yeah.
best thing that you can do to right those wrongs is to help someone else. Help someone else
Yeah.
to not do what you did. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's it's heartbreaking, but it is powerful, and it's powerful because you can use that emotion, right, to
Mhm.
fuel the fight.
Exactly.
You know,
It's not just some shallow "I want attention" thing.
right?
Mm-mm.
Exactly. That's exactly what's fueled me to fight these things.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm a disabled veteran. I
Oh,
struggle with a number of physical disabilities, and also depression, anxiety, and PTSD.
yeah.
And so I was in college. This was uh, this was earlier this year. I ended up dropping out of college because I kept having mental breakdowns. And so after a point in time, um, I had reached back out to my upline who had contacted me in Walmart, of all places. Guys, stay away from Walmart. Um, because that's where they made contact with me, was in Walmart. And so
Mhm.
I'm in I'm in this rut, of, okay, well, college isn't clearly working out for me, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to figure something else out. And so I excuse me, I call them back. I'm like, okay, all right, well, I want to go ahead and get back into the business here, or get into the business, right?
Mhm.
So I'm there, and I remember the first things that they were telling me was, well, you could put this part time. You could just put 3 to 5 hours a week, and then just build your business, build your business, build your business. Okay, cool. All right, fine. So I was thinking, okay, well, because I had already started YouTube well before then. I think I started YouTube back in January or February, and so uh, I'm in the business for a little bit, and I'm learning nothing about business. Nothing. It's all brainwashing. It's all gaslighting. Oh, you're going to be you're going to be the next diamond, you know. I remember
Mhm.
I would call my upline, and he would always answer with um uh, what was it? A diamond JB or something. I can't remember. But
Yeah.
I
Call
remember,
themselves Diamond.
yep. Um, and after a while, I started having some questions that I wanted answered about some of the products, right? And so I remember I was asking my upline about the excess energy drinks, right? And so it's like, hey, who developed this stuff? I need to know all that I can, because if I don't believe in the product, how can I sell the product, right?
Right.
That's actual business. That is actual fucking business. If you don't
Mhm.
believe in what you're selling, no one is going to fucking buy it. Especially if it's 2x over market price.
Mhm.
Anyways, so what he tells me is that who developed the excess energy drinks doesn't matter. What matters is the story.
Right.
Okay, well, you're full of fucking shit there. So let me go and check this shit out. I shit you not, that same day, I went at least 12 hours straight into researching MLMs. Um, and my world was crashing down.
Yeah.
My world was crashing down. Right. I'm not a religious person, but they were pushing me super hard into opening my uh, grand opening in a church. So what the questions that I have are, you know, how many churches allows this to happen in their doors, right? In their
Mhm.
chapels, right?
Yeah.
But so I I end up talking with my upline, and I said, hey, look, my mental health is continuing to deteriorate. I'm taking a step back from all this shit. Kind of just letting them down easy, I guess, being a little bit more graceful. And then he said, "Oh, okay. Well, why not just stay in touch with LTD? Why not just keep doing your audios?" Okay, well then, um, I had enough, because I think we were talking for like 5 minutes, and I said, I was not nice about it. I said, "Well, I know what this is. I know you're lying to me. I know you're a liar. I know you're a piece of fucking shit. So get out of my yard. Get out of my life." Uh, Left super quick after that. So I'm a craftsman. I'm an artisan, and so I've made necklace pendants. I I my expertise are now dioramas, and so I've actually given a necklace pendant and a diorama to some of these guys, some of these people,
Yeah.
right? As appreciation for showing me the financial freedom that they keep talking about,
Uh-huh.
right? So, looking back at it now, especially when they reached out to me to try to, rope me back into it. Um, these people were evil. Some of them were even connected into the FBI, the CIA.
Oh, wow. Like lower level
Yeah,
people?
yeah, yeah. One of my upline was, I believe he works. I believe he works with the FBI. If I'm remembering correctly. But I do know for sure he was law enforcement of some kind. But I could be wrong on the FBI part or the CIA part, but I want to say for sure that he was some kind of government employee of some kind.
Wow.
But I think FBI. Anyways, so going back to the summer conference, I was watching that online, and it was absolutely brutal looking back now. You know, when you're in it and you're gaslit, right, and you're believing what they want you to believe, you're thinking all the jokes that these evil motherfuckers. It's just, playful banter.
Right.
But then, you look back at this shit, and holy fuck, were they? I mean, they were just berating people.
Mhm.
I'm sure you saw that summer conference, right? Either online or live.
Several, yeah.
They
They
were
did that all the time.
they were lined up to be made fun of. That's sadistic.
Yeah.
That's sadistic. And that's why I
Mhm.
hate these people.
Yeah.
All of us should. Because they're cockroaches, they're parasites that leech off of everyone else around them.
Yeah.
That's who they are.
They make it think it's your idea too. To be leached off
Exactly.
of.
Well, you want your business to grow, right? So go ahead and
Right.
sell off your fucking house. Go ahead and sell your car because you don't need that. You don't need that. Just buy a bicycle. Go buy a tricycle. A little tricycle with a little bell on there. Because that bell's going to carry you to freedom. Fucking.
Uh-huh.
So, because I put out a video the same day, the very same day that I got out of Amway, I had put out a video telling my story. And they absolutely prey on the most vulnerable of people. When I say most vulnerable, I mean people who are vulnerable in a specific moment, like I was, wanting to belong somewhere, right? Having some kind of trouble in your life, needing something. And they can always tell. They can always tell what that is. So,
Yep.
Dealing with that now, I've turned that anger, as you can see, I've turned that anger and that frustration into helping people. Right. And that's why I want to say I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of Lisa, Hugo, everyone that's telling their story. I'm proud of all of you guys stepping up and helping people instead of just being quiet about it. Right. And living in that guilt, living in that constant repetitive cycle that we like to do with ourselves, especially as good people. We always torture ourselves. I'm sure you're just the same, but that was that was my story. These people are evil. They're evil.
Right.
And like I said earlier, it goes a lot deeper. It goes a lot deeper than just MLMs. Because the FTC is complicit in this. They're very specific at what they classify MLMs as.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as there are sales made from outside the company, it's not considered an MLM. But the loophole around that is that you buy your own products and then you then say it's from other people. And then they document that. That's why that 70% is there. And so that's how that happens. But funny enough, Amway is still making was it record number profits now or record number sales. I think their sales are going up, but their revenue is going down from outside sales.
Probably.
Interesting, right?
Probably.
Interesting. I remember my upline was saying how they were doing all this PV, but then they were buying over $300 every month. spending groceries amounts of money, right,
Mhm.
for Amway
Mhm.
products. And that's how they are hitting their PV. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So I remember when I got out, my upline's upline had contacted me,
Huh.
and they were like, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on?" And I said, "I know who you people are." I gave them the same talk, and I said, "Lose my number. Don't ever speak to me again." And they said, "I'm sorry." They immediately knew. They immediately knew what was going on.
Mhm.
Elsewise, they wouldn't have said sorry right off the bat.
Right.
Right off the bat. These
Right.
people were trying to sell to me that my grandmother's diabetes would be cured from one of their vitamin supplements.
Of course it would.
This is who these people are.
Mhm.
And they didn't directly say that, but they hinted at it.
Mhm.
Anyways, I said, don't apologize to me. You apologize to your God. Right. Because
Yeah.
they were, Christian.
Mhm.
So, just more examples to show you that these people are truly evil. And I'm sure you have examples upon examples upon examples. Um,
I could probably write a book.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure there was already one guy that wrote a book on their exiting Amway. Right.
Oh yeah, Kyle, right?
I think that was his name.
Yeah.
I think that was his name. No, not Kyle Rittenhouse.
No.
Um,
I can't vouch for that.
I'm not gonna vouch for that. I'm not gonna vouch for that. But I think his name was Kyle something. I can't remember. I can't remember what his last name was. But I do know that there was a guy that was pretty high up in the Amway ranking system. I think he was a diamond actually, and then he had realized what's going on because the actual scam, and we'll get into the bigger scam, but the actual scam is making people pay for the tools, right?
Mhm.
Because that's something that they were always talking about. And you'd always had to pay, a monthly fee of the tools, especially when you're going to the meetings, right?
Yep.
And the audios you got to pay for and everything like that, the books. That's how these people make their money. It's exactly how they make their money. And it's so sadistic. It's so sadistic.
Mhm.
They fill your head with nothing but what they want you to know, what they want you to hear, smell, touch, feel. It's all that. And that's exactly what cults do. It's exactly what cults do. And so the bigger scam, right? As I was talking about the FTC earlier,
Mhm.
well, this is probably something that you didn't know, but our very president was involved with an MLM.
Mhm.
He was the spokesperson for a multi-level marketing company called America's Communication Network. For 10 years, he was a spokesperson. Even had them on his show called The Apprentice. Had nothing but good things to say about them. And then announced his candidacy for presidents or for president or
Oh.
for presidency. So from 2005 to 2015, he was the spokesperson for ACN. And there was a federal lawsuit that was filed, class action lawsuit, that was filed back in 2021, I think. But there was a corrupt judge that had completely dropped the charges. However, that lawsuit has now been brought back. So the Trump family is facing the lawsuit. He is facing the lawsuit. ACN, I think, is also facing the lawsuit. So there are some really crazy things that are happening. Not only that, but since 1998, Amway has lobbied, right, donated $10.5 million to the Republican Party. Now they donate both to, Republicans and Democrats, but overwhelmingly they donate to the Republican Party. And what they do is they funnel money through a lobbying group called the Stanton Park Group that then pays out all kinds of different politicians. So you have all of these different networks, of money going to all of these different places. And that's why they're able to continue what they're doing.
Wow. Makes a lot of sense.
But in Trump's first term, he had appointed Betsy DeVos as the Secretary of Education.
Mm.
So he let someone very high up in this MLM to be in charge nationally of your children's education. Our children's education. I don't have kids. I am one, essentially. A gigantic kid. Especially if I'm playing games. Anyways, I don't spawn kill, I swear. But yeah, he let someone. He even called her, I believe, a brilliant educator. I think, if I remember correctly, that's what he called her, and passionate about education. Right.
Wow.
Right. So it's bad enough that today we're conditioned the way that we are, but to then let someone who essentially owns an MLM themselves, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. And you were talking about experiencing things as a woman. Women really have to be careful because they will absolutely use your emotions against you. And that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous.
And the effects stick around for a while too.
They do, because then you then become extremely defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely defensive. That affects everything. Friendships, your marriage, I'm sure, and then family, right? I'm sure that's affected almost every aspect, if not every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to start questioning your coworkers. You're going to start questioning your boss. You're going to start questioning, your husband, your kids, your friends, your mother. You're going to start questioning every single thing.
Yeah.
And although there's nothing wrong with questioning everything, it's not the point. What the point is that you're going to become it's PTSD. It's what it is. Right. Your body is going to write a code to defend itself, but in a very unhealthy way. And that's what that is. And so, you're going to be very, very on edge, very, very on edge. And that's something that you really shouldn't be, so,
Right.
I've been trying to get this information out because I don't see hardly any other YouTubers or any other social media influencers talking about this. Because I want everyone to know, to include yourself, that should the Trump family and Trump himself lose this lawsuit, this should be an impeachable offense. It should absolutely be impeachable. Because $14.6 million adult Americans are affected by MLMs. That's almost half of the population. Well, no, I'm sorry. We have what, 300 million people, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. It's a good chunk of them, though, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good chunk of the population, right?
Mhm.
And over, I think, 7.7% of adult Americans have admitted to being a part of an MLM or tied to it in some way.
Yeah.
So, these MLMs are they destroy people's lives. They destroy people's lives. And, the very fact that our president is involved in that, that should absolutely be impeachable. But, we'll see how that plays out. I just hope that we get more exposure on this. I really do. Because this needs to change.
Well, I do think something's happening, though. I really do feel that way because that apology video that came out, I mean, Larry and Pam have been doing that for years. They did that the whole time that I was in, even I'm sure way before as well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a tools business. But I was reading the Amway QAS, the quality assurance standards for content, and they talk about in there how they need recordings of all of the LOAs, like functions and everything like that, because they continually audit it, they say. Okay. And so if they audit that, they've been letting it go for a long time. All of those, inflated claims and everything, and the disparaging remarks and all of that. I mean, I read the whole document. I highlighted everything that I saw LTD break, and literally I was highlighting almost the whole document. But they've been doing that forever. So if Amway is actually auditing everything, they've been letting it go. But the fact that they made Larry and Pam release that video tells me that they could be getting heat from, a regulatory body. That's just my opinion. Because Amway wouldn't enforce anything unless they had to. They didn't start enforcing the 70% rule until like 2021, 2022. And that rule actually came from that 1979 FTC case. Okay. So if they were able to let that go for 43 years, and then they suddenly had to start enforcing it, that just tells me that they're getting heat from somewhere higher up. They're going to protect their profits. They don't care how it's done, how they get their profits. They're just going to protect the fact that they get profit. Right. That's just my opinion. But seeing things, I think they are getting some heat. So maybe something's headed in the right direction. Because there are things like, the executive branch can't control everything. Right. So the branches have to work together. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that's the case. Yeah. And I was just like I was talking with this about, talking about this with Lisa. As men, it's our responsibility to step up and change these things, right? We shouldn't be living. We shouldn't be leaving our women, our children up to doing these things. We should be doing it ourselves. That's why I always tell men, especially, we really got to take care of stuff. We really have to, right? Because our women, our children depend on us too, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to start running for office. We have to start running for office. The unfortunate thing is that you really need money to do that, right? And you need a good amount of money. So that's one of the steps that I'm doing with this here is that want to build up a good following, and then get a good decent amount of income going, and then start running for office myself. Yeah. And so there's a plan, but it's going to take all of us to work through it. Of course, yes, get involved with your with your politicians at the local level, mayor, uh, then governor, whatnot. But get involved and really fight to take control back of this country, because for a long time now, for a very long time, this country has not been in control of the right hands. Not at all. And these people continuously profit off of our ignorance. They profit off of our desperation to get out of our social class, right? Because it's either you're poor or you're rich today. There's no middle class anymore, right? And so many people, most of Americans, are not even making over $60,000 a year. And most of us are living paycheck to paycheck, and we're so desperate to get out of our situation that a lot of us go so far as to try these things. And then because 99.9% of people who go into MLMs never make any money. Matter of fact, they lose money. Now, I've seen people who have lost, in entire mortgages of money. You mentioned six figures. I've seen people lose a lot more than that.
Yeah.
$300,000, $500,000. That's insane. But what's more heartbreaking than the financial aspect is the emotional, the psychological aspect of it. Because that lasts a lot longer than the next paycheck.
Right.
But the good thing is, and I'm glad I talked with Lisa today. Lisa was telling me that Christmas this year is so much different, and it's so freeing. It's so beautiful, to not have to go and buy Amway products for Christmas anymore, right? And to not have that stress of being pressured to buy products that you don't want to buy for people, and that people really don't want to get from you,
Mhm.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. Once you get past the trauma, and you tell your story, it lifts a weight off your shoulders. It does.
1,000,000%.
It does. So, what would you say to people who have either been contacted or thinking about getting out?
Don't be afraid to actually do research. So when they tell you like, "Oh, did you do a Google search?" They're just trying to downplay the importance of actually doing some research. Of course, sometimes you do start with Google. You can go down, like, look at hashtag anti-MLM on any social media, and you'll see tons of posts. You'll see a lot of different videos. YouTube is a great resource for that too, but actually listen to the arguments. Don't just throw them away like they're being negative, because that is exactly what your upline will tell you. Oh, they're just being negative, or they failed, they couldn't do it, that's why they're upset. And I mean, people don't stay that upset for that long. Typically, it's not about being upset. It's that, we actually want to help people. So listen to the arguments, actually weigh it for yourself, and make an informed decision without your upline whispering in your ear. Because you need to think for yourself. It's time to do that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Damn, that was well put. That was well put. That was well put. I couldn't have put that better myself. Yes, do your research. Do not be afraid to do your research. Most importantly, don't be afraid to come to find out that you're wrong about everything. Okay?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to your worldview. Because at a certain point, as cults like to do, they always make your worldview about them.
Mhm.
Right? Don't do not be afraid to realize that that's wrong. And,
Yeah.
you know, as much as you don't want to recognize it, you have to, you know, and especially when you bring it to them. Well, first of all, don't do that, because one, you're wasting your time anyways, because they're just going to deny it too. Right. So, and they're, if they know the game, then they're absolutely going to gaslight you even harder. So don't go to them, right? Keep doing your research, and then you'll find the truth. You'll find the truth.
Yeah.
But if they do confront you, or confrontation happens of some kind, make sure you stand firm. Okay. You know, you mentioned being a people pleaser. I used to be a people pleaser myself, but now I couldn't give a rat shit about, you know, what people think about me now.
Right.
I really could not care less. I know
And
who.
that's one of the keys to happiness right there.
Right. Right. Yeah. Happiness within yourself. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are the only person that lives with you 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you got to be happy with yourself first. And that doesn't come from other people. So, stand firm in what you find. And if they want to confront you, well, guess what? You give them the facts. You tell them to fuck off.
Yep. Yeah. When you actually go against what they say, you get a good backbone real quick. It's awesome.
That's true. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that is so true. When I was telling you, when I was telling you about that upline, which was in the FBI, I'm pretty sure he was in the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
He may still be. I told him to fuck off. He contacted me. He's like, "Hey man, you doing okay? Fuck off. Get lost." You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's just veterans. You know? That's just veterans for you. You know, it's so hard for me to have a filter, you know, because that's just how we were when I was in. I'm sure that's how it still is, but you know, I'm just gonna tell it to you like it is. And
Right.
you know, if I'm pissed off with you, you're gonna know, because I'm gonna make sure you know. You know,
Right.
but yeah. So LTD, I'm really hoping that crashes and burns very, very soon, and I hope these people lose everything.
Yeah.
I would really love to see them go to prison. I would really love to see that.
Same here.
But what I would advise you to do you still have that video from their apology?
Mm-hmm. I do.
I would advise you to do a reaction and repost that shit.
Actually, that's one of my episodes that's coming out, I think,
Ooh.
next week. I've already done it. Yeah, it's ready.
Yes. That's what I'm
surprise.
talking about. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, make sure you go check out Meggan's channel. Go show her some love. She is awesome. She's amazing. You were so brave to come and tell your story, especially in front of, you know, so many different people. You know, of course, this channel isn't huge. You know, it's not anything super massive like Julie Anderson's channel, but you know, you're still showing your face to people. You know, and even on your own, you know, your own socials and your own channel too. You know, it takes a lot of courage. It does.
Thank you.
It does. So, thank you so much for telling me your story and allowing me to tell mine. Is there anything last that you really want to say for people?
Yeah. No matter how long you're in, it's going to be a hit to your ego when you realize, oh, I was wrong for this amount of time. So if you ever go thinking that you're too scared, it's valid. I understand that. Um, 14 years that I spent, I was like convinced that everybody who didn't do it was wrong. And when I came to the realization that I was the one who was wrong, I had to face that 14 years worth of ego trip that I was on. So just understand it's going to hurt. Let yourself heal. But if you're even on the fence and you know that you know the right thing, what's next, you have to make that jump. And just, I mean, honestly, don't worry. People are going to catch you. You're going to be okay. You're going to fall on something soft. You're going to, live to fight another day and just get some sleep and really educate yourself on why those of us who are in the anti-MLM community actually say what we do. It's not to be negative or anything, but you will be okay. I promise. Just take the plunge. And that sounds cult-like. I don't mean it that way, but just understand that we're all here for you. The anti-MLM community is so very supportive, and nobody's trying to sell you anything. So it's great.
Right. But we do have purple Kool-Aid. We don't have the red Kool-Aid. Don't drink the red Kool-Aid. Drink the purple Kool-Aid. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's not filled with excess energy drinks. So,
yeah.
So to your point, Megan, what I would say is don't ostracize anyone. If they tell you that if these people are being negative, even if they're your family, stop talking to them. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Matter of fact, when they tell you to start distancing yourself from people because they're negative, you really got to start doing your research at that point, because that is a narcissistic tactic. Okay, and I hate how widely used that term is today, but it's absolutely true. It is. And then don't be afraid to be wrong. That was one of the hardest things for me when I got out, was that, I was telling people, hey, look, I got myself a business. I got a business, man. I'm selling shit. Fucking Tarzan, and shit over here. And then come to find out, I got scammed. That was the hardest to admit to people. But, things happen. So you got to set aside that pride, or I guess what's left of it. So, but absolutely. And then when you get out, absolutely embrace those who want to support you. One thing that I will say about the anti-MLM community is that we all have to pull together. Okay, we gotta stop this division on dumb shit. Because I've seen that everywhere. I've seen that so many different places. We're so divided on stupid stuff, just general politics. When we should be uniting all together, because all of us have the same thing in common. We were taken advantage of by the same kind of opportunistic, exploitative companies. And so we have to set aside our political, religious, societal differences, and all come together to take down these MLMs and expose them for the evil pieces of shit that they are. So
exactly.
That's what I would add.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. Well, like I said, guys, go over and check Meggan out, because you also have Instagram as well, and Spotify as well too.
Yes, and Apple Podcasts. It's MLM Recovery Room Podcast.
Yes. So, guys, go over there, and I'll be sure to link those in the description below. Please go check her out. Show her some love. Show her some support. If you want to go and talk with her about your story, please go do so. And as always, look, do not be afraid to tell your story. Don't be afraid to. Don't be afraid to. We all were afraid at a point in time to tell our stories. All of us were.
Yep.
Okay. But here we are telling our stories. So Well, thank you again, Megan, for coming on. I appreciate you so
Thanks for
much.
having me.
Oh, of course, of course. And if you want to come back on, you're more than welcome to. But this is where we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. I love you all. If you ever need me, I'm always here. I wish you a lovely day. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.